There we go. Okay. It is July 28th, 2024. How long has it been since the last episode? It's been like, I don't know, a little bit, couple months, 2, 3 months. I don't know. Let's check out the YouTube thing, podcasts, online for maintenance. Last episode, June 25th, about a month. Actually, that means I'm making good progress because the last episode before that was September 11th, 2023. We can get this out today. It'll be quite a thing. Hit the music.
It's mighty strange. You looking happily deranged. I can't settle in bed. Or have you picked your target yet? It's ended. Got your dog bite. It's ended.
It is that time again. It is July 28th, 2024. This is Online for Maintenance. You are listening to. What episode are we at? Are we at 32, 34, something like that. The episode is called the 15th anniversary scam video. I kind of ran out of ideas and puns for this episode, but we're going with it anyway. 15th anniversary scam episode number 33. I am Connor, and this, of course, is the official podcast of MMO Fallout. That's mmofallout.com. You can check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/MMO Fallout. I usually get these episodes out on a Sunday, same day that I record them for patrons, with episodes going out on Monday or Tuesday. I'm honestly not very consistent. It's a byproduct of generally only releasing an episode about once every 6 months. You don't really come up with much of a standard procedure when you do that. But if you are so inclined to support my bad habits, you can go to patreon.com/MMO Fallout. Support us. It costs as little as $1. I'd rather you not give me more than $5. I feel like I'm taking way too much. Actually, I feel like I'm taking way too much at the $18 a month that I'm currently at. But I appreciate all of my patrons. And I'm always trying to figure out something to do for patrons. And a lot of that has to do with a steady and, let's say, consistent and, let's say, scheduled content output. Because I'd like to give my patrons something a little early, but it goes against my general mindset of, well, I have it done now, so why bother withholding it? But anyway, enough about that. It is a lovely 80 degrees out. Even better when I'm sitting in a room that has absolutely no airflow because I'm recording a podcast. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, wanted to do a little bit of talking about myself, because MMO Fallout, as some of you know from Twitter, did pass its 15-year anniversary. And people may be asking, they say, Connor, did you ever think MMO Fallout would hit its 15-year anniversary? And I say yes, because as I have said before, many, many times, MMO Fallout, like many of the other things that I do, is goodbye. My recording or my music playing bot just left. But MMO Fallout throughout the years has always been a thing that I do for me. And I've pointed that out. I like when people read my stuff. I like when people enjoy my writing, and I like when, I like talking to people about video games and movies and other stuff. I have websites that none of you even know about because I don't reference them on my main that I don't reference them on the MMO Fallout Twitter. I have like between you and me, I have MMO Fallout. I have How About Netflix, which you all know about, where I talk about movies. I have the YouTube channel. I also have 2 other blogs that none of you know about, that I don't talk about. They get very low viewership because I don't, it's all through natural internet traffic. They don't have any social media presence. I don't share them anywhere. I don't talk about them. I'm not even going to tell you the names of those 2 websites right now. Someone will go through my history and they will find probably one of them. I might have tweeted it in the past, but I have 2 other blogs that I do not talk about at all. And it's just because I do all the stuff for my own satisfaction. Like I've said before, without MMO Fallout, I would just be talking to myself in the shower without, a lot of the stuff in Online for Maintenance is stuff that I just bring up to myself in the shower. So really, a lot of my writing is just my way of venting the crazy, because I'll just talk to myself all day. And if I don't have an outlet, it'll just all build up in my brain. And that's why a lot of my writing sounds like the way that I talk, is because when I'm writing, it's like I'm mostly just dictating to myself what to put down. If that makes any sense and interests absolutely anyone. But MMO Fallout hit 15 years. My first article was July 22nd, 2009, and it was about Asheron's Call. And my original idea with MMO Fallout was I would talk about the MMOs that failed, and my goal at the time was to only update the website like once every few months with it when an MMO shut down. And then I started doing more regular content. I started getting more interested in writing about it. I had been running another website at the time, so MMO Fallout was the secondary, and then over time, the 2 of them shifted, and MMO Fallout became the primary. I lost interest in the other website, and a lot has happened since then. 2009, I had a moment of feeling old, where I told I have a day job, because shockingly, $18 a month does not pay the bills. But I told my coworker that I'd been working on MMO Fallout for 15 years, and she said, "Oh, I was 5 when you started working on that." And then I had to leave the office for the week. I can't handle I can't handle that kind of truth. And I realized a little bit after that if she was 5 when I started writing MMO Fallout in 2009, that means that she was not yet born for another 2 years when I started blogging on the internet back in 2002 on a tripod.com website. And I realized that, saying I feel old when I'm 35 is a little bit cliche, but I can feel my osteoporosis kicking in just from that statement. But I wanted to go down one of my Twitter followers and potentially a patron, maybe, suggested this and said, like, you should, Gemmet Reloaded said, who, by the way, loves my movie reviews. Check it out. Howabouttnot.com. That's not sarcastic. But suggested that I talk about it on the podcast and give a little bit more more context to the stories. So I'm going to go through them. It's easy content, but look, I can get myself to put out one of these episodes a month. At the moment, I need something that I can have confidence in until I can get back into the normal routine. Because last week I recorded an episode and I get a bug up my ass that makes me hate the episode, and then I just trash it. But this will be an easy one. So we're going to go through and I'm going to talk about my stories. So my first one was in honor of MMO Fallout's 15th anniversary. I'd like to remember that time some stupid Minecraft mom filed a COPPA complaint against me because I couldn't help the guys bullying her son banned on a Minecraft server. Or I couldn't get the guys bullying her son banned from a Minecraft server. Now, early on in MMO Fallout's life, I talked about Minecraft. And I talked about Minecraft because I liked Minecraft. Go figure. I certainly wasn't doing it for the views. And I certainly wasn't doing it for the traffic, of which I got very little. Because even back in 2009, 2010, the Minecraft discourse was really, it was all on YouTube. It was all on video. It was on the big websites, the smaller ones like mine. I didn't get much out of it traffic-wise. But what I did get was moms reaching out to me who were under the impression that I worked for Mojang. And I got a lot of moms who would come to me and they would, it would split up between people who couldn't buy the game and people who had problems with their kids. And if you remember way back when you could only get Minecraft off the Mojang website, which is when I bought it, it was occasionally very difficult to get. And the reason that it was really hard to get was because the game was in Sweden. This was back, this was well before Microsoft bought it. And you had to have you had to kind of hope that your credit card would let you make a $30 purchase to Sweden, or whatever it cost at the time. And I remember I went through like 3 or 4 credit cards plus my PayPal. Or no, 2 bank cards plus 2 credit cards plus my PayPal. And it took such a long time for me to actually get something to work that could buy Minecraft. Because every time I would try, my card issuer would flag it, they wouldn't allow it. And then I would call my bank and they would say, you're good. Try the purchase again, and it would still flag it. Because Mojang was based in Sweden. And a lot of people had that problem where they couldn't buy Minecraft. And I don't know how it came back to me. Maybe it's because my website started with an M. Maybe it was because I just talked about Minecraft. But I used to get a lot of customer service emails solely from moms. I'm not stereotyping here. It was moms. But I got a lot. Every time I would cover Minecraft, I would get a crap load of customer service emails over the following couple of weeks, and then it would just drop off. I don't know what feed my website was appearing that these moms were sharing around, but it was always moms. It was never kids. That's the thing. It was never children. It was always moms. Moms complaining that they couldn't buy their kids Minecraft, and moms complaining that their kid was bullied in a server, or some bully came into their kid's server, something to do usually with bullying. And I had to tell these people every time, like, I don't work for Mojang. And then they would get pissed and they would say, your company sucks. I hope you go bankrupt. I'm like, oh, first of all, again, I don't work for Mojang. And second, I'm not going to go bankrupt because this is a blog you're emailing into. I used to get I got a lot of emails about people complaining about my attitude and my customer service. But again, I'm not customer service and I don't work for Mojang. And that's the reason that I stopped talking about, Minecraft. And honestly, it's a reason I stopped playing Minecraft. Like, I just associated Minecraft with this deluge of stupid moms emailing me and whining. And one of them, as I said in my story, went so far as to file a COPPA complaint against me because I wouldn't help her. And COPPA, if you don't know, COPPA is the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. And it has to do with collecting information from children that are under 13 years of age. And here's the thing, is at the time, MMO Fallout was on WordPress.com. We're back on WordPress.com because it helps me to not destroy my website like I did when we were self-hosted twice. But COPPA has to do with collection of personal information. And this mom actually filed a complaint because of my comment section. Because my comment section and the comment section and the fact that you could subscribe. Because the comment section and subscriptions let you put an email. But I don't care about that because WordPress.com, I'm not doing anything with I'm not personally doing anything with that information. That's a Minecraft, or that's a WordPress.com thing. I don't care. So, unsurprisingly, nothing ever came of the COPPA complaint. I was actually never even. I had someone reach out to me just to say that a complaint that had been filed, and I never heard anything after that. But again, I did stop covering Minecraft after that, and no skin off my nose. It's not a big deal, but it's just a story, and it's one that I wanted to tell. Very ancient MMO Fallout lore. So, going on to the second one, I said, in honor of MMO Fallout's 15th anniversary, I'd like to remember that dweeb in Japan who hit me with a pathetically amateur sequel injection attempt in the comments for a full week straight because I said it didn't matter if Phantasy Star Online 2 came out, it was mediocre. Now, Phantasy Star Online 2, the funny thing about Phantasy Star Online 2 is that it's out. But Phantasy Star Online 2 launched in 2012, and it did not come out west until, God, what was it, like 2020? Yeah, it didn't come out until May 2020 in North America, and it didn't come out worldwide until 2020, August 5th. And I pissed off a guy in Japan because a couple years after Phantasy Star Online 2 came out in Japan, people were still talking a lot about, will this game ever come out in the West? Sega says no. Why isn't it coming out in the West? They really weren't giving much of an answer. And I made a comment either on Twitter or on my website where I said I didn't care if Phantasy Star Online 2 came out west because and that people shouldn't be so up in arms about the fact that it's not coming out west, because you had all kinds of people being very insulted, taking it incredibly personally that this game might never come out outside of Japan. And my comment was that Phantasy Star Online was easily hacked and that the sequel apparently was pretty mediocre. And a guy in Japan launched a SQL injection attack on my website for a week straight because he was so angry that I said Phantasy Star Online 2 was probably mediocre anyway. And that's when I learned about the extent of weird fanaticism on games. Like I've been playing games since the 90s. I've been covering games online since 2003. And I was amazed by this man's commitment. The commitment to a very poorly done job, because he never hacked my website. But he had me scared for a little bit of like, what if he actually gets through? What if he actually gets through and all of a sudden MMO Fallout is coded in like, I don't know, just really disgusting porn. And that just ruins my reputation. What if he does? What if he gets my information and puts it on the internet? You know, back in 2013 when I still cared about that kind of thing. Just something to talk about. The next one that I have is I'd like to remember that time I interviewed Derek Smart and almost got it hauled into the witness stand in a federal defamation lawsuit. I only told half of the story there. The other half of it is that I almost ended up a defendant in said federal defamation lawsuit. Now, I took the interview off for like a week before talking to a lawyer, and he told me I was good to put it back up. But way back in, I think it was 2010, I interviewed Derek Smart. And the reason I interviewed Derek Smart was because someone told me that it was a really stupid idea. And that's why I did it. I interviewed Derek Smart. I actually think I was the one that initiated the interview, where I emailed him and I said, hey, would you be willing to do an interview? And he said, yeah, but he would only do it by email. So I interviewed Derek Smart, and one of the things that he brought up was the firing of David Allen. And David Allen had been the president of Quest Online, and he was fired by the board, and they brought on Derek Smart. And there was a big fight between them going on at the time. So I interviewed Derek Smart, and he talked about the company firing David Allen and bringing him on board. And then I got a notice from David Allen's attorneys. And they said, first of all, they sent me if I'm remembering this correctly, I don't know if it was a formal cease and desist, but the 20-something page legal document that they sent me strongly insisted that I remove the interview from the website. They told me, they said, we want you to keep all of your emails between yourself and Derek Smart, because we may be filing a legal notice to claim them. And they're like, yeah, get yourself ready, because you may be a defendant in this lawsuit. And so I emailed them back at the time and I said, I took it down just out of fear because I'd been running MMO Fallout for like a year and a half. And all of a sudden I'm getting a notice that I'm in a federal defamation case. So I took the interview down just completely out of panic. I talked to a lawyer friend of mine, and he told me, he looked it over and he said, "No, you're good. Just put this back, put this back up. I'll deal with this if they actually serve you." And I ended up talking to Derek Smart. I don't remember exactly what we talked about, but I do remember he also offered legal representation if I did get caught up as a defendant in this lawsuit. And then I emailed David Allen's people back at the time and I said, "Look, I put it back up. If you can tell me what is false in this interview, I will amend it. I will put an addendum on it saying that you say that it's false." And I never got a response back on that. They later contacted me and they later contacted me with an update and they said, "Hey, just so you know, we're not going to have you as a defendant. Don't worry about that. However, we may have to call you as a witness." So again, same thing as before. Keep the interview up. We don't care about taking the interview down, but we're still going to need you to keep all your email, because the way that they were going to go about it was they were going to ask Derek Smart in whatever trial happened, is this you in the interview? And if he said no, then they would call me as a witness and I would say, "This is how I know that, this is how I'm pretty sure that I was contacting Derek Smart." And I never got called as a witness. And I was both scared and kind of excited because I found out that that if they're going to pull you as a witness, my first answer was, "Oh God, they're going to bankrupt me." I'm working a minimum wage job. I'm working a part-time minimum wage job and I'm a student. And they're going to force me to travel to Arizona for this lawsuit. And it turns out that the party that's summoning you as a witness actually has to pay your expenses. Or the court does. I think it varies depending on jurisdiction. But I could have gotten a free trip to Arizona, and Derek Smart couldn't just be like, "I don't know who Connor is. I don't know who Melly is." I think about that sometimes. Could have had a free trip to Arizona. Ridiculous. But if you had been keeping up with the lawsuit, the two of them settled outside of court. I have no clue. I've had a couple of people before ask me what the terms of the settlement were because I was tangentially involved. I don't know. My interview being entered as evidence, and the fact that I was nearly a witness, nearly a defendant, I still have no clue what the terms of the settlement were. But everyone seems to have gone their own way amicably. And that was how I ended up in a federal defamation case for my first interview. And weirdly enough, it wasn't the first time I'd almost been threatened with a lawsuit. The next one I have on my list is in honor of MMO Fallout's 15th anniversary. I'd like to remember the PR firm who kindly asked me to stop joking about their clients' events, including free Quiznos coupons among the rewards. Now, I guess one thing that I can say is that when it comes to MMO Fallout, I have a habit of... I should say I don't get drunk. I don't drink. But I have a habit of writing MMO Fallout when I'm in a little bit of a silly mood. And you'll know it's very obvious when I'm writing articles that are based off of press releases that I didn't really want to write, because the more I don't really want to write it, the sillier it gets. And I've had a couple of points where I've had PR execs email me like, "Hey, I read your article and I just want to ask, like, are you okay? Mentally speaking, like, are you healthy?" And I had a couple of games that I had been joking about Quiznos coupons being part of event rewards, and I ended up removing them. It wasn't a specific game. I did it across multiple titles, multiple PR people, and I had one of the PR people where they're like, "Hey, this is like, we like your humor," and that's how I know they're going to ask me to take something down. When the email starts out with, "Hey, I just want you to know I appreciate your humor. I enjoy reading your articles. However, you need to stop with the Quiznos coupons because the company's legal department, like, I guess someone from the company's legal department was looking at my articles, and they noticed my little like my little joke about, like, where I would talk about a cosmetic pack, and I would say, "What do you get in the cosmetic pack?" "Oh, a couple of skins, some boosters, and a coupon for Quiznos." And because I had put my source as a press release email, it scared them to the point where they thought someone's going to sue us over, out of the dozen websites and the fact that it doesn't exist anywhere in any official documentation, but the idea of MMO Fallout talking about free Quiznos coupons as part of an in-game reward, part of an event reward, scared their legal department to the point where they reached out to marketing, and marketing reached out to PR, and PR reached out to me and said, "We respectfully ask that you take these down. It's not it's not a legal demand. We're just asking you to take them down." And so I did. I ended up taking it off of pretty much everything, because the reason that I did is because I didn't want to take them down. I took them down off of everything because I have readers who notice things. And I knew that if I took it down off of one game, if I took it down off of one PR group specifically, and I had left it up on everything else, that people would very quickly figure out that, like, something that I had been, people would think that I had been intimidated. And the best way to convince people that you're not being legally intimidated is to say, "I am not being legally intimidated." They believe it 100% of the time, and they definitely don't think that you're just saying that to avoid getting in trouble. So I took it off of everything, and I started putting in the, like, "I'm just kidding" after I did that. But, and I should point out that there was no threat of legal action. It wasn't a cease and desist. They didn't stick their lawyers on me. They just said, "Hey, please stop making this joke because you have our lawyers scared." Because they think that they're convinced that some of this liability might come back onto us. And so I did. I don't fight people about little things like that. But speaking of fast food, speaking of Quiznos, my next bit that I wrote about was a reader of mine, and I don't know if I want to call him a reader because he just kind of showed up for a little bit, got really pissed at an article that I did, and I can always tell when someone is mad because I have per user sites. And what I used to have on my website is I had a little flag. And what the flag would do is if someone came in on one of my newer articles and they started reading just a ton of other articles, I would see what they had come in on and what they were going to. And I don't remember what this guy came in on, but this guy found an article of mine, hated my opinion, and he went through two of my websites, and he compiled every reference that I made to fast food. Because, again, I sometimes write when I'm feeling a little silly. So I would make jokes here and there about, I would say, like, this game is $5, which is the same cost as the 2 for $5 Big Mac going on at McDonald's right now. Don't forget to use the app. Again, absolute stupidity. Not meant to be taken seriously. Usually, I would also write the articles when I was hungry. That's where a lot of my food references come from, because I'm writing the piece thinking about like where I'm gonna go to lunch or dinner. And usually, like, more recently, I'm probably scrolling through my phone on an app trying to figure out where I'm going to eat. Or like if I'm gonna cook something. Or I just have food on my mind. That's where most of those fast food jokes came from. Just me being hungry. But he filed a Federal Trade Commission complaint for an undisclosed sponsorship. And I never heard back from the FTC because, well, I'm going to go ahead and guess that they looked at it and said, this is stupid. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and look at and say that nobody looked at it at the FTC because it's stupid. And also, I'm not big enough to, even if I was doing undisclosed sponsorships for Burger King, I don't know how much those could have been worth. I don't think I could have bought a Burger King meal with the kind of returns you would get from my website, because you need hundreds of thousands to millions of viewers to get anything close to like good ad deals. When I was doing my banner ad experiment, I was making I think like 26 cents a month. Really, it's nothing good. There's money sitting on my account somewhere that has never been paid out because I never hit I was never going to hit the $100 threshold. But yeah, it didn't go anywhere, but it still exists. I really hope my microphone picked up that very loud car driving by my house just now. Let's go to the next one. In honor of MMO Fallout's 15th anniversary, I'd like to remember that email I got from a Philippine gang of teenagers telling me they'd kill me if I ever stepped foot in their country because I was shit-talking their favorite game. What game? I never found out. They didn't say. Now, that one, I considered not sharing it. And looking back on it, I probably shouldn't have. I'm kind of 50-50 that it's probably fake. I mean, the account that it came from was actually in the Philippines, and I was small enough at the time that I got it. This was like 2011, 2012. I was small enough at the time that I really didn't have any reason to assume that it was fake, because I definitely didn't have the presence on the internet for people to be like, "Hey, I got the attention of O'Malley that guy from MMO Fallout with my trolling." And it's probably trolling, but at the same time, I've never set foot in the Philippines, so I don't know. But just something I wanted to share. It's not like I was ever afraid of for my life. In honor of MMO Fallout's 15th anniversary, I'd like to remember the genius legal representation at Real Time Worlds who tried to explain to me that it didn't matter if I didn't agree to a review embargo. Their press embargo applied to all press, and my review was a criminal act. Now, I love this story. And the reason I love the story is because it's the first and not the last time MMO Fallout has responded to a legal threat with a 2-word email that just said, "Eat shit." It's not the first, not the last. It's happened 3 times. And I'm not going to tell you about the other 2 times. At least not today. But Real Time Worlds, I talked about APB a little bit earlier today. Real Time Worlds with All Points Bulletin. A lot of people don't remember this, but when All Points Bulletin first came out, it had a review embargo. And the review embargo it wasn't like a week before launch. It wasn't launch day. The review embargo was a week after the game launched. I couldn't remember if it was 10 days or if it was a week. But the review embargo was a week. And I found that funny. Now, MMO Fallout, even 15 years on, I normally do not ask for review keys. I certainly don't go out of my way to email and request them. And the reason I don't do that is for 2 reasons. I don't want that commitment. I don't think that MMO Fallout, I don't believe that the website is big enough to warrant such a thing, and I don't like doing it because I have a ton of games that I could be playing at any time that I'm constantly trying to figure out like what I have time to play and what I have time to turn into content. And the last, like, every other time I accept a review, I end up regretting it. And you can tell because I end up basically making it into a second job. And one thing that I've never really liked doing with MMO Fallout is turning it into a second job, which is why occasionally the website goes 3, 4, 5 days without any content, is because I'm busy with my day job and because I'm tired at the end of the day. And I don't want to burn out. And it's part of the way that I've managed to avoid burning out is going by my own cadence. So when I take a review copy of something, it's something that I actually want. And it's why most of my reviews are pretty positive, that are from keys that I got from the developer. It's because I really only do those if I already know that I want to play the game. Otherwise, I don't want to waste my time trying to race to a review by launch for something that, with how MMO Fallout is, probably isn't going to give me a boost in traffic anyway. And even if it does, what do I care? I don't have any advertising. But All Points Bulletin came out. I never got offered a review key. I never asked for a review key. And I never wanted a review key. I bought the game when it came out. And I started talking about it. And I got a cease and desist from Real Time Worlds under the grounds that I was legally bound to a press embargo of a week. And I said, no, I'm not bound by the email that I got was trying to explain to me that because, okay, let's go over the logic here. The logic that the person from Real Time Worlds gave to me is that because I am a member of the press, a press embargo naturally applies to me automatically. It doesn't matter if I actually agreed to it. It doesn't matter if I bought the game myself. I am a member of the press, and therefore I am bound by the press embargo. And I needed to take down my commentary immediately. And I emailed them back and I said, eat shit. And I never heard anything else again. At least not until they threatened me over my comments about the company going bankrupt, which they also never followed up on account of the company going bankrupt. But that is a story that happened. And it's one of my favorites. And I'm going to go on to the next one. It is in honor of MMO Fallout's 15th anniversary. I'd like to remember when I got my review blurb for that Dungeons and Dragons book recognized, and the publisher put it on the wrong book. Yeah, that happened. I don't have much of a story behind this. It was really cool. Like I've had Nexon. I don't know if they've ever actually used it, but I've had Nexon, NetEase, and a handful of other developers actually reach out to me and say, can we use your comment in our advertising blurb for our game? And the first time this ever happened was with the Shard Axe, which was a book written by Marshila Rockwell. It's a Dungeons and Dragons online book. And it was like the first thing that I had ever gotten a book copy for free. And it was cool. And I had never really read Dungeons and Dragons books before then. And I read it, and I genuinely enjoyed it. And they put my review on the wrong book. They put it on Skyne of Shadows, which I thought was hilarious. And I tried to find a copy with my blurb on it, but I couldn't. And they're no longer in print. I don't know if a printed copy ever came out with my blurb as one of the reviews, but I need to find a copy of that. Again, I don't really have much to say about that story, but I really enjoy it. In honor of MMO Fallout's 15th anniversary, I'd like to remember when my stupid, sarcastic review of Monkey King Online became a topic of conversation at GDC China about the culture gap between the East and the West. This one, I gotta say, I'm kind of proud of it. So way back a long time ago, I wrote a little review of a game called Monkey King Online, and I don't think it counts as a review. This was 2014, and I wrote about my burrito. I wrote about my review. This is what's in the review. I wrote about cooking a microwave burrito. And I wrote about how, like, I accidentally I I cooked it. I had to cook it longer than it needed to be because it was, because my microwave is underpowered. So I talked about a burrito. I talked about my coffee. I gave a suggestion for a coffee company that has surely been out of business for probably 5 years now, Tonks. I talked more about the burrito. I talked about the health of the burrito. I talked about Guzzlers. I talked about Wendy's, the ciabatta bacon burger. I talked about the air conditioning filter in my apartment, and I talked about The Hobbit. Talked more about Wendy's, and then I just went off on how much the game sucks, and I talked about how like there's a lot of games that come out of China that are crap. And weirdly enough, one of the comments that I made was that nobody cares about the story. And the purpose for my thing is that, like, I wasn't talking about that nobody cared about the story in the sense that because it was Chinese. I don't know if it was maybe more at the time, but I think a lot of Western gamers are interested in Chinese lore. But my comment about the story was nobody cared about it because the game automatically played itself. But my article got picked up by Game Developer Conference in China, and they wrote about how they said it raises an important point. You cannot take popular games in China and simply port them to the rest of the world. The cultural gap is too great. And I don't think that it's an issue with the cultural gap with Monkey King Online being a browser autoplay game. It's because it's shit. And I do not believe for a second that that the game failed in the West because it's Chinese. It was successful in China because the game runs on a pregnancy test hooked up to a potato, and the game is full of bots in China. It's not so much a cultural gap, but just because people play a lot of garbage in China that does not run in the West because, people don't want pay-to-win, shitty browser ARPG games. But the fact that got picked up in GDC China and became part of a talk, the biggest ego that I got since finding out that Richard Garriott read MMO Fallout. And damn, I might have gotten someone fired from the company over that review. I have a couple more of them. I have one more from the website that is intensely embarrassing to me. And then I have one more from me. And the one that I have from Twitter is the time my Skype account got hacked. And when you're in a position that I'm in, your biggest fear is having your line of communication hacked, because that's how you ruin your trust in perpetuity. I got my Skype account hacked, and thankfully I only used my Skype account for one thing, and that had been my interview with Missing Worlds Media with City of Titans. And so I didn't know that I had been hacked until a year down the line when I logged into my Skype account, and I saw the message that I had sent. That was like, it was some phishing link. It was like, hey, I don't know. I don't even remember what the message was, because I tried to go back into my Skype account recently and I found that they don't actually keep records going back that far. But I apologized. And here's the thing. When I apologized, I said, "Oh, I see." And then I wrote my apology as a separate message. And then I logged out of Skype, and I didn't log on for another 2 years. And when I logged in, the first thing that I noticed was that my explanation, or my apology, had failed to send. So all that Missing Worlds Media got was, "Oh, I see." And I got a message back, and it was, they were not happy. It was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? You send us a phishing link and you wait a year to respond with a simple, 'Oh, I see.' This is unprofessional. This is bullshit. I don't know how you expect anyone to trust you after this." And I will admit, I was so embarrassed that I didn't follow up. I was genuinely so embarrassed, and especially by the response, that I thought, if I tried to explain what happened, there's no way that they are going to believe me. Because at this point, it's been like 3 years since I sent them this link. And so I never followed up. On the plus side, by that point, I didn't really care about the City of Titans people, because it had also been after a couple of years of the City of Heroes people being assholes to me. If you don't know, I have a nearly complete embargo on talking about any of the City of Heroes follow-up games. And it's because of their communities. Because in the years following City of Heroes closing down, every time I got, I had a few articles covering City of Titans, Ship of Heroes, and every time I would cover one of them, the community from the other one, and a couple of times I had the PR people from the other game email me and say, "Hey, why aren't you talking about our game? Why are you talking about the other game? We don't feel like your coverage is fair." And then every time I would cover an NCSoft title for a couple of years after City of Heroes shut down, I would get people from both communities just being completely rude to me. And so by the time this all happened, I had already put an end to talking about City of Titans or Ship of Heroes and Valiance, the other games. So it didn't really matter to me. But I did, for just on the idea of like not responding and kind of letting them hang dry, I was like, there's no fixing this. There's absolutely no fixing this. So I sent the phishing link to the Missing Worlds. Well, I didn't send it, but I got hacked and my Skype account was used to send a phishing link. And all they know is that I took a year to respond with, "Oh, I see," and then completely ghosted them after that. And it's only because I was so embarrassed and like terrified that I never actually followed up to explain why my response was so short, because I thought nobody's going to believe me. And I felt really bad. And I think 2024 Connor probably wouldn't care, but 2015-ish Connor actually did care. And I felt really bad about that. And it was the only time that I've ever been kind of stunned into silence. But I have one more. And it is that time that Jagex threatened to, someone at Jagex threatened to sue me over saying that Mexscape was never coming out. Because Mexscape, I don't know if you remember how close to release that game allegedly was. I'm talking a week, 2 weeks, when Mark Gerhard and Andrew Gower were still saying, yeah, Mexscape is coming out. It's coming out soon. It's coming out 2 weeks from now. And they had nothing to show for it. And it was very obvious that they were lying about the game's release. And I got an informal cease and desist telling me to stop calling them liars or they would sue for defamation. And I didn't stop. And the game never came out because Gerhard and Gower were just flat out lying. Or whoever was making the press releases and writing their quotes for them. Because I also have no faith that Gerhard or Gower were actually saying that about the game. Because as I learned from Derek Smart, a lot of times the quotes that you see in press releases are not actually quotes. They're written by PR and attributed to the person. But we've been at this for about an hour now. I think it's about a good time to stop. Happy 15th anniversary to MMO Fallout. I'm going to try to do more of these episodes more often. And until then, check me out, mmofallout.com. Check us out on Patreon. Maybe I'll do more of these stories in the future. Patreon.com/mmofallout. When I do upload episodes, they go up on Patreon on Sunday, and I'm going to say Tuesday for the regular audience. Again, it's just $1 a month. That's all I ask. But check us out and hit the outro music. Join in and play.